Hey up guys, welcome back to another episode of the Gardener's Shed podcast. Now in this episode today, I'm going to have a chat with you about how to grow your gardening business, and the catch line for that would be customers. I think customers are the lifeblood of your business, and I'll be honest with you, if you want to grow your business, I see a lot of different people on podcasts, YouTube videos, big companies, small companies, and what everybody's got in common, they all say the same thing, and that's what I'm going to talk about later on. I think first off, I'm just going to have a chat with you about how this season is shaping up. So I'm going to probably change the order of the videos, get this one out that little bit earlier, because this is the first month of the season done and dusted. And I'll be honest with you, it's gone very, very well. It's been very busy, but it's not been to the point where I'm feeling under pressure, if that makes sense. I've picked up some new work from word of mouth customers. I'll be honest with you, one of the things I'm looking at doing is just pushing the advertising, the free advertising that is. I'm not really interested in paying money for advertising, so this episode is going to be a lot about advertising basically. The reason is I've got enough work on, and also I want to have time. I want to try as best as I can to keep it where I've got Saturday Sundays off, and I know that's a luxury for some people, but I've done years working every Saturday Sunday. It was probably towards the end of last year, but before then it was, I think my record for, it sounds depressing, for not having a full day off was probably 3 or 4 months. Yes, there was the odd afternoon, if it rained, or the odd morning it rained, I'd have time to myself, but primarily the first full day off where I had no work on, that I could just relax, was about 4 months. So I'm very, very keen to keep my sort of Saturday Sundays as free as possible. My sort of workflow is that I am pretty booked up, and I've always got jobs on in the background that I could be doing. So I don't want to look at spending money on advertising to then end up turning the work away or putting myself under pressure and doing that work on the weekends, or when I could be, when I want to be free, let's just say that. But I do want to put a little bit of advertising. I think advertising is so important. I think first and foremost, when you hear gardeners say, I don't do any advertising and I'm getting work all the time, they do advertising. In the background, they've either got a sign written van, they've either got some form of advertising, where it's a little Facebook page, or it's a Google page. They've got something, they've got a presence blipping away in the background. As I said, they've either got the van sign written, but the biggest one is them walking around being a gardener, if I'm being honest with you. They've got a uniform, people can see that they're a gardener. People make these points of connections. I honestly believe that they say you need to see, I think it's either 7 or 14 times, points of connection before somebody decides to pull the trigger. And I think a lot of that is subconscious. I think, somebody that, might be looking at taking on a service fee, say for a gardener, they know they need a gardener and they've got to look for a gardener. Some people might just go on Google, type in gardener, where they live, ring the first person. That first person might, come and they agree and they take the job on. But for most people, they'd have it in the back of their mind, and if, they see your advert. So the best example of this I can give, in my local area, there's a takeaway, and I've not ate there, it's an Indian restaurant, I can't knock them at all. I don't know whether they're good or bad, but the one thing I can definitely congratulate them on is their advertising campaign. They, I think in this industry, I'll talk about this later, to grow a business and to grow a really good business fast and to be the best you can, you need to be omnipresent in your area. And this takeaway Indian restaurant did that. So first off, I'd say majority of people have got a Facebook account. So this Indian restaurant, they've put Facebook posts from their restaurant regular. I would say at least once a week I have seen them, not just sponsored, but on the local, not singles groups, the local mum groups, the local spotted groups, the local what's going on groups, you know what I mean, the community groups. I'd say once a week they put a post up, whether it's, welcome to our lovely Indian restaurant or picture of the food. So Facebook, they're all over it. They have done a massive leaflet drop, and I've seen leaflets on customers' sideboards. I've seen leaflets, unfortunately you see a couple of them flying around down the street. I've seen them through my own door, my brother's door. They have leafleted up a huge area. I dread to think what it's cost them. And they've put good leaflets through, good high quality leaflets. They put signs on lampposts. So there's I'd say at least once a week I would park up somewhere and I will see there. One of the most obvious ones is when I go to get petrol. They've got a little A4 sign nailed onto a lamppost right next to the pump. So these guys have thought about it. They've become omnipresent in the sense that you're not seeing them all the time, but like I said, I'm making that point of connection where I'm seeing a lot of them. And as a lover of food, let's just say, or somebody who likes an Indian, you can't help but think, if someone says, should we go for an Indian, I will try that new place. And I'm aware of it because I understand how advertising works to an extent. So I look at that and think, bloody hell, they've got a good advertising campaign. But the average bloke who is like me, who's seen them a bit on Facebook, a bit out and about, leaflet through the door, when they go and get petrol, they won't think they've got a good advert campaign. They'll think, we'll try that. And they might not even know why they try that. They might know because they've seen it elsewhere, but it might just put it to the back of the mind. And then they might be waiting for somebody to say to them, oh, have you been to that Burley House takeaway yet? Oh, blooming, I've seen them everywhere. Shall we go? So I think for us as an industry, I think that's what we should be trying to mirror to an extent. Now, I think it depends how you want to do this. If you want to grow a monster of a gardening company, so if you are setting out and you have a mindset that you want to grow a gardening business, as in you want to at some point run the business, as in hands off the tools, blokes on the vans, I think all about what I'm going to say applies to whether you just want to be a one-man band. It's how far you want to push it, and how fundamentally how much effort and how much time you want to spend doing it. So I think first off, as a gardener, there's easy ways to make money and there's hard ways to make money, but fundamentally you could do a full day and knacker yourself out and earn $2.53. You can earn your day rate or what you want to earn in a full day, or you could have an easy day and still earn the same. But those two amounts are the same, still spend the same. So you can kill yourself to earn £1,000, or you can do it easy and earn £1,000. It all spends the same. But what ends up happening is, well, it's the wear and tear on you, and it's the wear and tear on your body. So I would definitely say, have a think about services. And even if you were like myself, who you were a few years in, and it applies to me, I'm 5 years in, and one of the things I've been doing over the years, if I'm being honest with you, is I've been trying to make how I make money as easy as possible. And I'm not ashamed to admit that. I think in this industry sometimes, I know it's a predominantly male-dominated industry, but you see it every so often that if somebody buys a tool, or they find an easy way, or not a cowboy way, but a quicker way, it's always some people say, well, I just do it the trick, I just do it, dig it out and pull it out, and all this sort of stuff. And I just think the easiest way I can make my life, the better. You don't get any prizes. Like I said, busting your gut for £1,000 or predominantly having an easy time to make the foul, it's all the same amount, it's all the same money, it all spends the same. So for me, I want to earn my money as easy as possible, and I'm not afraid to admit that. And I would say that to you guys. Look at your earnings and look at your work, and if you're just starting out, well, you might just take on whatever work you can. But at the same time, if you're just starting out, there's no harm in looking for that easier work. So if you want to be an all-round gardener, it's no problem at all. You just do a massive ad campaign. You just do an ad campaign, and this is what I'm going to get on to now. I'm just trying to build the layers before I sort of get to it. But say for a business like me, where I'm 5 years in, now my advertising's a bit differently. So the advertising I'm going to be doing this year is I only want to advertise for what I want. The only thing that I want at this point in time is more exterior cleaning work, gutters, fascias, soffits to an extent. I'll be honest with you, I'm even pulling away from the fascias and soffits. I want gutter work when it's gutter season, but I'm still going to advertise now. And I also want mow and goes. I want more mow and goes. I don't know what it is, but there's people out there that, you hear all the time, oh, you're not a gardener if you don't do mow and goes. Well, I don't know the definition. I'm sure when I looked up the definition of a gardener, it's to tend something within a garden. Somebody could just look after a bonsai tree and they could be defined as an air quote gardener. I'm sure there's a proper name for it. Well, to us, if we're just looking after grass, so for me, I don't just do a mow and go. If a customer wants other things related, I think mow and goes are perfect. So right, a customer gets you in to do just a grass. You've got your foot in the door then, and if you're willing, you can do anything at that property, because odds on they like you and they trust you. Unless they've got, say, a dedicated bloke who does the power washing, does the shrubs and the hedges. I've got customers where I do the grass, but they have a guy who does the hedges and the shrubs. And they always say to me, well, he's been doing it for years, and we like, we let him do it, and we like him and all that. But primarily, I've got the foot in the door when I do the mow and goes, and it's up to me. Now, I think for me, I don't understand why you wouldn't do other things. Now, there's an extent to that. If a customer had hideously overgrown borders that were all grass, and they got me in and they said, right, Sam, we just want you to do the lawn, and then they come out a couple of months later, said, right, would you do the borders as well? It's a no from me, because I can't do the heavy border work. But if they've got shrubs around the lawn, or a nice big hedge or anything, and they said, oh, well, would you do the hedges for us one? Yes, of course I will, that's no problem. I'll give you a quote right now, or I'll give you a price right now. So I think mow and goes, for me, I like them, and this is why I want more of them. They are singular tasks. You are in and out. You've not got the stress of multiple jobs. You know what you take. You're taking a blower, a strimmer and a mower in, and it's simple. That grass has been cut. Okay, every so often customers complicate it. You've not cut it long enough, you've not cut it short enough. I had it at the start of the season. One customer, she was so she's got a lot of moss in the lawn, and the birds keep pulling it out, and she says, well, after you go, there's all these little clumps that keep appearing, and explain, well, it's the birds. And she said, I said, could you show me? And when she pointed out the kitchen window, you could see the birds pulling it out there. I said, well, it's the birds. Anyway, so I've done a little bit of rambling as always, but how would I say is the way to grow your gardening business? Advertising. I talked about that takeaway, that omnipresence sort of where they're everywhere. I think that's what you want to be. So for me, I'll talk towards the end about how I would grow a massive gardening business if I had my time again and I was that way inclined. For me, and I can imagine majority of you either started out or you're into your journey. I'm going to tell you how I want to get more work. So I'm going to go down the Facebook route, and I'm going to mirror the tactics of what this other company does. So I'm going to put a couple of posts up every so often on community groups, but only for the work that I'm after. I'm going to make no mention at all about other gardening services. I'm going to keep it extremely direct. I'm going to put a couple of the best before and afters. And the thing with social media now, no one's got an attention span. They want to see the best pictures, the best results. So I'm not going to put I'm going to put 2 pictures up, 3, whatever fits on that page, so they don't have to click that little icon, because you don't want to do that. I'm going to basically put an opening title as, do you need your grass cutting? I'm going to make it as simple as possible. I'm going to let people know a few slots remaining, because people like it when someone's busy. They don't want to take some people might, but in my head I think some people don't want to take a chance on somebody just starting out, or somebody that's got room available. A few slots remaining. Do you need a grass cut? Do you need a reliable gardener to cut your lawn? I'll still fit the word gardener in there so they know that we do other things, but I want to make it as dialed in and as simple as possible. My number, my telephone number, my email address. It will have the link to the Facebook page so they can click on it, they can look at all that sort of good stuff. But primarily, people just scroll. I want it where even a 2-second scroll, they can get the gist of the conversation. I see all the time on social media where people put these great big posts, a massive part. I think if you go down to where it says see more, they're clicking off it. They want it all in that tiny little block. Business card drop. I've got a ton of business cards, and I'll be honest with you, I've been lazy with them. I need to go back out, putting the business cards everywhere. Okay, the business cards are more for gardening, but I can start sifting through them leads. I can start, if people ring up for border work, I can explain that we're not taking on border work. We've got no slots available for it, but we can take on grass cutting slots. And again, with the business cards, post offices, corner shops, they have little notice boards up. It costs like 20p a week. Just bunch the lady up a tenner and you can put your business card in there. Same with the business cards, go around to cafes, pubs, takeaways, wherever people wait for stuff. I'm going to put some business cards there so then people can decide to pick them up. I'm going to get some hard standing leaflets done, basically. Not leaflets. So I said about that takeaway, the Indian restaurant that had their billboards on the signs. They're only small, they're probably A4. I'm going to get a few of them put up, and I'm going to look at where I can put them, but I'm going to put one where that petrol station is, because as soon as you get out of your car, that catches your eye. And I'm going to stand on the wall, and I'm going to put it up quite high, if I'm being honest with you, make it a bit hard for someone to take off. And I'm going to make it so it's absolutely straightforward. I'm just going to put, it's going to have a green background, nice big block capitals. It's going to have my business name, so it's going to be SGM-garden services, and it's going to have, do you need your lawn cutting? And it's going to have my telephone number. It's going to be as simple as that. And I'm going to put them on. I'm not going to make a nuisance of myself, but I'm going to put them up, same on, Morrison's car park. There's a nice big wooden, telephone pole there. I'm not going to make a nuisance of myself. I'm going to make it where, if I get a phone call, someone says, oh, you can't put that there, that's my telegraph pole, the power company. No problem at all. I'm ever so sorry about that. We're just a business that's trying to start up or trying to get a bit more work. We'll come and take it down for you. I think you can't make a nuisance of yourself. So that's what I'm going to be doing, and all that's cheap. All of that is going to be as cheap as chips, because like I said, I'm not trying to double my customer base. I'm not trying to put another bloke on the tools. I'm just trying to pad out, get a little bit of extra work, if I'm being honest with you. Just a few more mow and goes, a couple more gutter jobs, you know, just again, nice and simple. I just want it where, and this is the thing, I don't want to spend X amount on an ad campaign from a company. I don't want to spend X amount for Royal Mail to deliver X amount of leaflets in my local area. I haven't got the time to go door knocking. I haven't got the time to go canvassing. It's, for me, it's all about the easiest, cheapest solution to get the best sort of outcome for my business. So that's the plan with that. So I'm going to keep this a bit more generalized. If you're just starting out and you want to grow a business and you want to get it where, you know, it's as successful as possible in the quickest amount of time, and I think sometimes people, they are a bit sort of wary to say that. It's like as if everything should take years and years and years. And I think as well, this isn't you must do this. You know, it's quite hard sometimes. But I've listened to the amount of podcasts I've listened to where they've interviewed big companies. So I listen to a lot of people where it's small companies, one-man bands, and I've listened to a lot where it's the big companies. But when you listen to the big companies, their advice is nearly all the same. So I'm going to tell you how I would grow a big company or get to where I want to be as quickly as possible from people out there that have turned £1 million companies, big, massive, you know, they've got staff on the road, people on the road, you know, multiple vehicles. And I think first and foremost, the things I hear from all these big, you know, £1 million companies, and it's like James Sinclair, he talks about, if you ever listen to him, I would say listen to him. He is a really, 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 really good. He is a businessman through and through, and he is very, very, very good at what he does. And he puts a lot of information out there. He puts a lot of time into what he does, and he puts a lot of effort in. And I think this is the thing, you've got to remember with a lot of these sort of people, they're doing it for free, or it's free entertainment, or it's free advice. And I would say, listen, you know, find the James Sinclairs, listen to his podcast, and as well, there's the Uncleanables. They're interviewing some massive companies at the moment, and all the advice from what I'm listening to them, it's all similar. So therefore, you know, it's not rocket science, but you get what. So anyway, all these professionals, they all say the same thing. You've got to live and breathe your business from day one. And the good thing is, when you first start, you're time rich. So don't be afraid to door knock. Don't be afraid to canvass. You know, build up your round. Go out, knock on doors, speak to people. You need to get customers, and customers are the lifeblood of your business. Advertising is a huge one. So I've gave you a few ways for free. So create a Facebook page. Now, if you've not got before and after pictures and you're just starting out, don't go out and try and get, and you can tell where people just type in striped lawn and then they just copy and paste. They look awful. You know, there's gardeners in my, well, not gardeners, but, you know, people who are pretending to be gardeners. They've gone onto like the RHS website or like National, and you know, they've got like pictures of like massive like estate lawns that they're passing off as, they're not passing them off, they're not saying we mow this lawn, but they're using them as their like, you know, landscape shot or their sort of border shot. So they're implying that they look after properties of this size and this nature when they've just got it off the internet. So Facebook page, if you haven't got the you know, the before and afters information, put as much information as you can up on the page. You see like the Gardener's World and all that, they put out these little cartoon sort of style pictures where it's, you know, do this in your garden at this time of the year, and how to prune a shrub, how to prune an hydrangea. Put information on your page, And then, you know, build a little bit of content like that, and then push it out every week, every month, you know, every fortnight, whatever, onto these community groups, putting out, you know, that you're a gardener, you've got slots available. Do you need to tell them you've just started out? I wouldn't, if I'm being honest with you. If you're able to, and I'd say this is definitely the thing what you hear, it's all about getting customers in, it's all about getting work in. So if you're able, get as many leaflets as you print off. Leaflets are only good and they only work if you can deliver them. So if you print off 10,000 leaflets and you deliver 500 and the rest sit in your cupboard, you think, bloody hell, these haven't worked. Well, they haven't worked because they haven't hit people's homes. If you print off, you know, get 10,000 printed off, and you find the cheapest company that say, oh, we'll deliver we'll deliver 1,000 leaflets in a day for 80 quid, don't go with them. Yes, it's cheap, but to deliver 1,000 leaflets with one person, could one person do it in a day? Probably not. So odds on they probably aren't going to get delivered, or they'll deliver a few. But you hear all the time about these companies. I think from what I've heard and what I've seen online and off other people, Royal Mail do probably the most consistent job. But either way, I would get X amount of leaflets, 10,000, 5,000, whatever, and I would get them delivered. I would definitely look at Facebook. I would definitely look at canvassing. I would definitely look at the business card drop. But all these big companies, it's all about being omnipresent. Like I said with that little Indian restaurant, you want it where people are making the connections. You want it where people, so for me, I keep my font. So I haven't got my jumper with me, but the font of my jumper, and you can't see it anyway, but anyway, the font of my jumper is the same font that I use on my leaflets, and it's the same colour, and that's a point of reference. I see, you know, I've not got my van sign written, but I've got a luminous bright green van with the hopes that people think it's a gardener's van. You know, it's like with the restaurant where people see, I'm hoping with mine, where I can put business cards everywhere again, where people can start seeing them. They'll see me walk into my van with SGM on great big writing on the back of my hood. When you look at my leaflet, if I was to get a leaflet or a business card and turn it over and then turn it straight over again, the only thing you will see from that is SGM. And people concentrate, you know, about it's like sign writing. The next van I'm going to get, I'm going to have it sign written, but I'm just going to have SGM Garden Services, and I'm going to have maybe a title, whether it's your local gardener or trusted gardener, anything like that. And I'm going to put my telephone number and maybe my email address. Am I going to put my service? No, I'm not, because if people are driving past at 30 miles per hour or 20 miles per hour, they're not going to stop and read that. All that people want to know is you're a gardener and how to contact you. And I see it all the time where people stop and take a picture of somebody's van, you know, and they just need the contact number. If they're going to do that, they've already pretty much decided they're going to call you. And as well, it's explanatory. And at the same time, same font, same style as everything else. I'm going to put some like signs up on lampposts, but it's all with the idea of getting as much sort of eyes on your advert. You want it where people see you here, they see you there, they see you, you know, your leaflet at a takeaway, they pick one up, and then that's when they make the decision. But it's building in to them that, you know, oh, I saw him outside Mrs. Such and Such's house. I think word of mouth is probably one of the best ways of, well, people would swear, you know, that it is the best way of getting work. But I think when you first start out, it's very sort of hard when you first start out to get word of mouth. But at the same time, there's no harm at all in saying to customers, one of the things I did, it was good and it was bad, was it wasn't a referral scheme, But, you know, I'd say to people, like, look, if you recommend me, you know, tell your friends about me. You know, if you say, oh, well, tell people about me. If, you know, if you pick a customer up for me, I'll look after you. And, you know, whether it's a little bit of Summit at Christmas, or it's, you know, a little bit of spot spraying when you're there, or, you know what I mean, or even if it's a thank you, you know, thank you for, you know, getting me that customer, thank you for recommending me, thank you for telling that customer about me. You know, it's up to you. There's all these things what people do where, you know, they can do a loyalty card, a loyalty stamp, where people say, I've seen thingy, and I'll be honest with you, I talked about this in one of my YouTube videos, where somebody said about doing the first cut for free, and I gave my input on it, and I think it's a good idea. When I put that up, there was a couple of comments where people understood it, but then there was people like, no, you know, why would you do that? And I can see both sides of the argument. It's like Disney. Disney's lucky, you know, they've got a product they can sell. They just sign another login. But, you know, I think primarily Disney do Disney Plus, and they'll put it out for a week free, or a month free, or whatever it is now. So people watch the shows and then they join. But primarily, it all feeds back into itself, where they'll watch the shows and they might buy a toy from it for the kid, etc, etc. But I think when you first start out and you do say to customers, look, I'll do the first cut free for you, well, you're always going to get people who will have one cut and they'll never have you again, or they'll make their excuses after. But I like to look on a bit more an optimistic side, and I think, well, actually, there is people out there that they're after a gardener and they're unsure, or they've even had somebody before and they've done a crap job, and you turn up, you do a good job, you do a reasonable, you know, you say to the customer, look, the first cut's free, next time I come, if you want me to come again, it's going to be £25. And as well, you've got to factor in that there's some people out there that, you know, they've got a moral compass, basically. They aren't all, not everybody's a chancer, not everybody's unreliable, not everybody is just out for what they can get. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I want very sort of targeted work. I just want mow and goes, if I'm being honest with you. And you can't sort of deny the power of a mow and go, basically. So, you know, singular tasks, that's what I like. I like singular tasks now, if I'm being honest with you. So, yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Have a good day, and as usual, keep on gardening.